I'm not sure whether to tell you to hold your breath or not. Mount Panorama presents a difficulty on its own, and the excitement of watching a car drive around here by itself is enough to cause anyone to tense up. The problem with chucking this mix of GTP and GTO cars onto here is that, as we've seen from previous seasons, the action almost never lets up. If I told you to hold your breath, you'd all pass out by the end. So with that said, just hold on tight instead as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, we've got a bit of a triple header here this weekend, so for the second time today, why don't you introduce our fans to the mountain?
G'day, mate, and welcome to Australia. All right, enough of that. I'm sorry. Apologies to all my Australian friends watching. Listen, this is Mount Panorama, and it really is a street circuit, Joe. You can see all the large sections of the course that have these concrete walls all wrapped around the place. The V8 supercars have made this their kingdom, and they are probably most known for calling this place home. It's 23 turns here, Joe, that they have to deal with, all of them tricky in their own very and special, unique way. And for that, it is a long trip around, Joe. It's 4 miles, 6.213 kilometers. Up and down the mountain we will go in very, very close quarters. Not a very wide track at any point. and the runoff areas down into the chase, well, they can be a real ender because you're at top speed and they just keep running off and off and off and off and off. But listen, I've done enough to give you an idea of what the track is like. Let me let you see it for yourself. Go on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Kiradine Dwafia and the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Bathurst. Coming down to Hell Corner, drivers are going to really be focusing on their exit. It looks like a simple 90-degree left-hander on the surface, but because you're coming onto the mountain straight, it makes it one of the most important corners on the track. Plus, these Audis cut a big hole in the air, so it won't take much for your opponent to catch your slipstream and make an attack. As long as they get close enough, they'll get a good chance into Griffin's Bend. But this uphill right-hander tends to cause atrocious understeer, and you'll often see drivers lifting late in the corner when they realize they've got it wrong. From there, you've got to switch sides to set up for the cutting. The blind entry because of the wall and the little kink makes balancing the car under braking a precarious effort. Once it starts to steeply climb, you'll need to get on the power as early as you can without losing grip. You're now into Reed Park, and you need a big lift to make it through the last right-left up at the top. Finally, now that you're coming to the highest part of the circuit, you'll have a trio of quick left-handers in Frog Hollow, Solomon Park, and McPhillamy Park. Every one of them will test your accuracy and bravery, culminating with the nasty curb outside of McPhillamy, which has punished many a greedy driver. After that, you fly over the crest of Skyline and begin weaving back and forth. You'll be slowing the car the entire time, and eventually you're forced to thread the needle at the dipper. Watch out for track blockages here with how easy it is to get any part of this sequence of S's wrong. As you continue to snake back and forth, it's best to hold the right on the approach to Forest Elbow. There's a sharp drop, and then try your best not to clout the outside wall. At the same time, don't wait too long to get on the power, because now that you're speeding down the Conrad Straight, you're stuck with whatever momentum the car's got. Once again, draft battles are likely to take place if anyone is able to stay tucked under the gearbox of their opponent. But if they find themselves still side by side once they hit the chase, it's going to be extra hairy. There might not be enough room for both cars to stay flat out in the kink, and it eventually becomes a game of chicken with the braking for the left-hander. It's not uncommon to see drivers outbrake themselves and skitter into the gravel because of the difficulty in slowing the car down. Now you've only got Murray's Corner left to deal with, and just like the first turn, it only looks deceptively easy. The very tall curb to the inside really punishes anyone getting too greedy. If you survived all of that, you've now finished a lap around Bathurst.
That should give you a good idea of what these drivers are going to have to deal with for 40 minutes around this track. Now, as we wait for some times to come up in the qualifying, let's take a glance over at the various championships, starting with the GTPs. Up in there, Fabian Gerber is leading effectively with a perfect score because of the 3 drop weeks that they have. He's actually dropped one of his wins. Nicholas Schneider, however, because of the 3 drop weeks, has jumped himself up into second, just displacing Clayton McLeod, although it is a close fight between them. Look at that, just about 6 points between second and third. And it's a little bit farther down to Fabian Jungbluth, who moves up a spot, and Justin Albrecht, who's been very fast on 1-lap pace, but not necessarily good over the course of a whole race, sits in 5th at the moment. Going to the GTP lights and taking a look here, very tight up at the front between Keefe and Rugenbrink. They've been kind of trading back and forth as far as having good results this season. Johnny Bell has had a few good ones in there, but needs a little bit more consistency. And then Martin Krejcik and Richard Keogh round out our top 5, with Martin just jumping onto our top 5 graphic. Now, what about the GTO classes that we have out here, Sean?
Joe, let's take a look at those now. Billy Ruola has 4 wins on the season, right up there with 100 points even. Of course, drop point figuring in there. Michael Houghton is one of the 2 drivers to beat Ruola on track this season. Rob Olenek is the other one doing that, well, just last week. Now, Riley Thompson had that win in round 1. Coincidentally, Ruola was a no-show that week. Draw your own conclusions. Phil Lake has been strong as of late with 3 podiums in a row. And Jamie Hall's 16-pointer last time out will be dropped for now, Joe. Now let's go on to the GTU standings. Hideki Koivitso, best result this season has been a 6th place, and that's been enough to keep him at the top. But Matthew Jette, along with Riley Thompson and and they are the only 2 Audi drivers to race in every event so far this season. And GT being rewarded for that by sitting there in second, just a point behind Hideki. Part-timers Shanahan and David Roth fill spots 3 and 4 currently, and that's where we sit here with the Audis, Joe.
And if you've never watched a Kamel GT race before, let's give you the rundown of what today's race will entail. We are in round 8 out of 12 as they run the official iRacing stuff. In fact, this is official racing here that you see, but different from the official races is those 3 watermarks that you see. That means that they have 3 drop weeks in the VCR Championship that we just informed you on. Like I said, 40-minute race here today, so effectively a sprint race, which makes it all the more difficult around here as they'll have little time to try and make up positions. There is, of course, no pit stop because they have open setup on these cars, so it is going straight from the green flag to the end unless you have an issue in which you have no spare car, of course, we should say. There you see the scoring at the bottom of what you can expect for drivers to get depending on where they finish. And that is within each class. That is not overall of what they are fighting for those points. Now, if you enjoy this official racing here that we have on GSRC, you can find even more of official iRacing, including the World Championships, over on their esports channel. Definitely go give that a look, subscribe so that you can get all of that in your YouTube feed and not miss a moment of iRacing's best that they have to offer. Meanwhile, the best that we have to offer, at least in lap times, Fabian Gerber up at the top for the moment. Just set the fastest lap. He's got the pole. We've got a few of our GTPs still out there trying to best him, but fewer and fewer of the fast guys are left to finish. So I'm not sure that Fabian's going to lose this one, Sean.
I think he's going to be safe. Jungbluth just come across, Fabian Jungbluth, and that got him up to 5th. Back in the GTOs, it's Phil in and around the lake sitting on top right now with a 2:02.1. That's got him clear, a clear, 0.3 of a second ahead of Rob Olenek. Brian Shanahan out there trying to get a second lap in. He just did, actually. It got him up to 8th.
And we've got about a minute left. Worth noting that this is a very long track, so getting 2 laps in around here can sometimes be tricky, especially for these GTO cars. Trangrade's only done 1, and he sits in 3rd. He's one of the guys that typically is up towards the top that I wonder if maybe he could improve his time if he has just enough left. It's going to be awful tight for him. There's Eugenio Massa coming across the line, and Eugenio actually is still going to stay slowest, even though he's got both of his laps in a 2:09.5 out there. Now, typically guys that run around the back have a chance to try and let the leaders through once, maybe twice if they're really slow here, Sean. But with the 2 classes, the guys that run slow are going to have a lot more to worry about.
Yeah, they really are, Joe. I talked in the when we were introducing the track. It's rather narrow in many spots. The Nissan, for one, is already a pretty wide car. The Audi itself is a pretty wide car. They're not going to really run well together on track, if I'm being honest. It's going to be very tricky. Of course, this track notorious for the car drifting and skating around just a bit. A lot of off-camber sections. It is going to be tricky today, Joe. And boy, when the traffic finally does make it around somewhere, probably after about that 4th or 5th lap, it's going to get exciting. And we're going to go to grid now.
Indeed, it's going to get exciting very soon because it's not a full pace lap. So Fabian Gerber is going to be our pole sitter. We mentioned it earlier. He had the fastest time provisionally. That stays put. Now, Justin Albrecht gave him a run for his money. He was within 1/10 of a second of that pole time. Let's see if he can survive this one to get himself his first win in this series. Nicholas Schneider will start in 3rd, followed by Luis Emerton in 4th. Fabian Jungbluth will be P5 at the drop of the green with Martin Krejcik. Great qualifying from him to start 6th. Radar Anderson, he'll be P7, and then Clayton McLeod will be 8th next to him. Ben Lafter starts in 9th, and John Keefe rounds out the top 10. Michelle Rugenbrink starts behind him in 11th. Mike Kopak starts 12th, and Johnny Bell will be 13th. Then rounding out the last of our GTP cars is Alex Bassiou. Sean?
All right, let's do it. Row 8, that's going to be row 1 for the GTOs. It's going to be Phil Lake, Rob Olenek right there next to him in second. And third place qualifying is going to be Ove Trengrade, Nick Bucanos right next to him. Riley Thompson, Jamie Hall, a real familiar cast of customers here. Milan Arnazzi, Reed Miller. There's Brian Shanahan, qualified 9th. And 10th for Hideki Koiviso. Eugenio Massa going to top out the 11 Audi GTOs ready to fire off here on the mountain.
They work their way through the chase, just one more corner, and the pace car is going to peel off even before that. The pit entry a bit tricky in here, but hopefully nobody has to use it, although I will absolutely not make any guarantees on that one. So as the pace car pulls into the pit lane, Fabian Gerber has control as he works them around Murray's corner. And things getting a little bit checked up behind him as Justin Albrecht tries to get up next to him, but unfortunately is left in the dust as Nicholas Schneider looks down to the inside into Hell Corner. He's going to take that second place away right away as they work their way up the mountain straight. It's clean in the GTPs. Let's go to the Audis.
Phil Lake in and around Hell, and already trouble back and forth. Oh, Reed Miller, Nick Bucanos. But Phil Lake, Rob Olenek able to break away from the field here real quickly. Ove Trengrade already over a second back. Oh, and that was a mess getting out of Hell.
Thankfully, only 2 cars involved with it. If that's the worst that we get on this first lap, we'll be thankful. In the meantime, Justin Albrecht has not had a good start to this race. Even though he was on the front row, he's now slipped down into 4th. He's been overtaken by the man that's been on the move with new pace up in these GTP cars, Luis Emerton, looking at another podium to add to his belt. Oh, and
Albrecht walled it there. Jeez, he is struggling, Joe.
I'm seeing him disappeared. Did he wreck out? Oh, and Fabian Jungbluth is on his lid. Krejcik is as well.
I've got Reed Miller back here in the Audis. He's in the wall, off into the dirt now. He's going to tow it in.
And I'm just simply grateful that we didn't have more cars involved with that being on the top of the mountain on the first lap, as they're already heading down the Conrad Straight. Gerber with now a lead of 1.6 seconds over second place Nicholas Schneider. And indeed, Justin Albrecht is not in the sim anymore. He's manually disconnected, so he's called it a day without even finishing a single lap. We've got a replay up, it sounds like, as this is a battle we're seeing between Schneider and Emerton. I think, yeah, they've separated a little bit, so we got time to go take a look at what happened to, I guess, Albrecht first? Oh, Mukanos and Young. And Mukanos first, rather. This is coming through Hell Corner. This looked like more of a racing incident to me here, Sean.
Boy, and it was just very ever slow, slight contact, Joe, but it's right there in the apex, and it doesn't take anything to get the car around, and boy, that ended badly. Now I think we've got this is the one with Justin Albrecht right here.
Yeah, I didn't even get to see this one, so
yeah, he just clatters it right against the wall, coming off the turn, and
then he disappeared. That looked like maybe he had a connection issue, and then immediately after, Jungbluth and Krejcik just tangling coming through McPhillamy Park.
Yeah, Jungbluth got tipped there, and then here's Reed Miller. Miller's just going to lose it, going to just really just flat spotted here against the wall. Hard hit. He never gets off it, able to keep the car to the right, let everybody get through there. It was a good job by him.
A good job by all the incidents that we saw there on the opening lap. Typically, if you have an opening lap incident around Bathurst, you pile pretty much every car behind you into you, and somehow they were able to avoid it. But your leader up in the GTP, still Gerber. Leader in the GTOs, currently Philip Lake, but being chased very closely by Olenek and Trengrade.
Yeah, and Trengrade made up that gap. I think Trengrade really just being a little patient right now, taking care of the car. He very well may be the driver to watch out of the three here. We'll see. The YouTube chat certainly likes him. We'll see. But Shanahan and Arnazzi are back there having a little fun. And that battle has kind of gotten a little bit closer here. And fact, Arnauzi making a run at him. Down into the chase.
And the purple number 18 just runs out of time before they have to break for this difficult chicane and then get on the power again. And Shanahan, looking very confident on the power, starts to stretch away to solidify that 5th place.
Boy, has a picture perfect run there through Murray's. If I'm being honest, that car looked like it had a ton of grip.
Certainly did. Tell you what. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it was just another smooth trip out of hell.
Well, we saw in the Lotus 49 race just a couple hours ago, getting off the corners, oh so much more important as we jump back up to the leaders. Now, I was about to say, Lake, who, even though he has a scant lead here, he's on 3 podiums in a row. Meanwhile, Radar Anderson has, we're seeing him flying because he's found a little bit of a bug there, unfortunately. He was actually sitting still.
Houston, we have liftoff.
We're going to see it on the replay here, unfortunately, the number 14. This is one of the most bizarre things I've seen in a while.
No. Oh, no,
he gets stuck in the wall, and then the physics decide that they don't want to play anymore.
You don't belong there. Oh, jeez.
Well, as we come back live, this is Schneider. It's continuing to drop off the back of Gerber. It's now 4.5 seconds. And Emerton trying everything he can to put the pressure onto that number 8. And I talked about, Sean, the found pace that Emerton has had lately, just racking up podiums in this series. His number 13, his iRating says that he should not be in this position, but he's repeatedly been up there. I think that number is going to start going up soon enough.
I think so too, Joe. Either that or he's just not racing enough, one or the other. But Emerton's pace, let's face it, has been strong. Joe, just behind them, Rugenbrink just pulled off a move on Alex
Bassiou?
Bassiou,
that's
yes.
my guess, at least.
Yeah, no, it was Alex Bassiou. Yeah, just got by him there coming down the straight at a hell corner.
Apologies if we've got that one wrong, but that does promote Rugenbrink up to 7th position after he started this race in 11th, taking advantage of some of the attrition that's already taken place in this very short 40-minute race, and we're less than 10 minutes into it with all the incidents that we've already seen.
Man, Schneider really giving Gerber the business right now.
Oh, Emerton giving Schneider the business, I think.
I'm sorry. Yes, I was one off there. Schneider looking in his mirror, and that was all he could see through the mountain section.
I'm guessing that lap traffic going to play a role in him having an opportunity to maybe make that pass, but they've got a little ways before they get up to the first car. About half a lap still up to the first of the GTOs. So we right on board looking through the 007 cam. That was of Nick Schneider. What if we could hop back to those GTOs for a bit, give them some love.
Yeah.
The top 3 not able to get away from one another, and yet we haven't seen an overtake between them. It's still Lake leading, Olenek second, and Trangarade third. Olenek awful off of Forest Elbow, though. And this is, and I think he missed a shift.
Yeah, I think so, Joe. I might have heard that, actually. Here comes Ove right up alongside. Something's going to have to give here.
Oh, I think Ove lifted it.
Yeah,
I don't think he wanted any of that.
Ill-advised, too wide there.
Yeah, certainly. These GTO cars not very good at high speeds through fast corners, known for their understeer. Is that a little bit of a defensive move, though, from Lake coming into Murray's corner? He doesn't seem to feel completely safe here.
Well, he shouldn't. I mean, honestly, Joe, he's got Rob Olenek and Ove Trangarade behind him, so I don't think there's anything about what he's doing right now makes him feel safe. So, yeah, the margins are slim right now. Joe, we've already almost put in 10 minutes of this race. Maybe somewhere around 15, 16 more laps to go. Battle for the lead, though. We're side by side, and Olenek, he's got to get out of it and get on the binders a little bit. Got it a little hot. Phil Lake going to hold on to it for now.
And yet still, Traingrade decides to hold back and doesn't push the issue. This is a very patient Scandinavian that we're seeing. Had multiple opportunities now to try and maybe get himself up into second, but he's content to stay behind. Now, in the meantime, we did have a pass between... Oh, and Shanahan in the wall at the cutting in a horrible place. He gets it going just in time as he's passed by Hideki Koivisto. This is absolutely where you do not want the car to wind up.
And Milan Arnazzi, the 18 there, the purple 18, you're going to see him just barely get through. There's not much track for him to go through here when Brian gets turned around.
Yeah, great call by Arnozzi to just place his car in the right spot and avoid disaster. Well, this does promote Riley Thompson up further, now to 5th. Now, where did he qualify? He's making steady progress.
Yeah, he qualified 9th, Joe.
Wow. Great stuff from the number 11. However, next on his list is Jamie Hall, and, well, that's about an 8.5-second gap up to there.
Well, that goes back to the incident from the start of the race, Joe. So many guys got caught behind that. They're still trying to make that time up. Obviously, Riley was one of them. But cover the top 3 with a blanket here in the GTOs. It's still Phil Lake, Rob Olenek, and Ove Trengrade completing another circuit here on the mountain.
Yep, they're going to work their way back up as they stream down the mountain straight, up the mountain straight, and we could have a pass for the lead. Challenging to the outside. Olenek trying on Lake. We saw this last time, and it's the same story over again.
Same result, Joe. Same result. How about Nick Schneider and Luis Emerton still really got a great battle going on, Joe, and they're getting ready to complete another trip around here at Bathurst.
My hat's off to Schneider. Sorry, he's been withstanding this pressure the whole race, literally, and hasn't cracked yet.
No, sir, he sure hasn't. He's actually started to gap Luis just a little bit. Luis was really all up under the rear wing of that Nissan for quite some time, and Schneider just seems to maybe really start getting comfortable. That's one of the things about this track. Oh, John Keefe, Clayton McLeod. Here's a good one, Joe.
Yeah, on screen, McLeod got a good run on Keefe, but just doesn't have enough straightaway to try and make the pass. The slipstream not powerful enough in the GTP cars. Now they work their way into the cutting. Now, McLeod has been on the tail of Keefe for a while himself. Not as long, I think, as Emerton on Schneider, but is certainly trying to get the Hoosier to make a mistake to see if he can sneak around him. Around the various parks through McPhillamy, and then you start to come back downhill over Skyline, getting hard on the brakes into the Dipper. We was talking about
Joe up front with the Audis. Phil Lake still defending against Rob Olenek. Olenek tried to make a move out of Hell Corner, and it failed. Ove's just happy to sit back here and use the let him wreck philosophy. He didn't want any part of that. Oh, Ove had to get on the binders there.
I just don't know about what Ove's doing, though, because we've seen things happen so fast, especially in this section, that if they do wreck, he's got a much better chance of running into them than running by them, I'd say. Right on board with the Scandinavian.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. They were side by side coming out of hell. It was almost got together.
Well, I'm glad you brought us over here, because this battle, man, I'm surprised we haven't had more issues between them. They've been hard fought so far. We've seen Olenek make multiple attempts, just can't crack the nut that is Phil Lake. Down into Forest Elbow one more time. They need a good run off of here. And not a great one from Trengray, third in line, but a decent one from Olenek, plunging back downhill. Lake knows it. He goes off to the right side to try and hold him off. Going to make him go the long way around through the kink, but it's going to switch back to the inside once they get to the chase, and he's fully by. Rob Olenek has tried, and finally it goes off. What will Lake do once they get to the main straight? Already a defensive move down into Murray's from Olenek. This is for P1. And our GTO class, a little bit of a look to the inside through Murray's from Phil Lake. He can't make that happen. Here comes the critical hell corner onto the mountain straight. Just does not get close enough. So they're going to stay in order for now.
Joe, while all that was going on, John Keefe and Clayton McLeod were in a battle, and they came up on Eugenio Massa right down in the cutting, and getting around him was a bit of a chore. It's just a horrible spot to catch him. Keefe was able to run away from McLeod. Now all of a sudden on the back part of the course, McLeod picked things up a bit, is now starting to pick them up as they got just now getting out of Murray's corner. But exciting moment there that created a little bit of space between the two. But they're coming up on more traffic. In fact, who is that in front of them right now? They're coming up on the Audi of Brian Shanahan, who is back in 8th in the GTOs right now.
Well, right now we're on board with our leader. And if you want to see a magic trick, Gerber's lead is going to disappear in a hurry unless he can get by. Oh, and Riley Thompson actually brushing the wall.
It might have been a little bit more in the brush. I think he hit it pretty good, Joe. We get the replay of it. Take a look.
We saw the damage on the number 11 before we went to replay there. He definitely got a good swipe at it. And even though Gerber didn't have anybody nearby, I kind of understand why he was pushing the issue. He can't wait too long. Thompson thankfully did not lose a position.
Oh, Trent Graydon Lake. Dove getting around.
Oh, did Lake have an incident? We're seeing a little bit of damage on the car.
He's got quite a bit, actually. I'm going to go back and
this
find
was in
Joe.
Quarry, I believe. That's when I'm seeing him drop off. Oh, yeah.
Joe,
at the exit of Quarry.
Yep.
They're right there. We just caught it on the replay. He got a little bit of that curb to the inside. Ove tried to get around him, but was stuck all over the top of the hill. Had to be frustrating for the Norwegian. Yeah, it's right here. To the right side, clips the curb.
Yeah, that's tough break for Phil. Because that's gonna winds up in a toe. He couldn't get that thing to turn.
What could have been a win for Phil in and around the lake has turned into possibly a drop race for him. That leaves Rob Olenek as our leader with Ove Trangrade a whole 3 seconds back. You'll see as this race goes on, that gap can easily go away. Owen Clayton McLeod and John Keefe were side by side through Griffins, sideways through the corner. I don't know how they made it through there. Let's get a replay of that one.
Clayton had that almost all the way around. Watch this, Joe. Clayton McLeod in that blue Nissan. Car just slips from under him there.
He was waiting for the postman because he sent it. Somehow came out of that. Unfortunately lost about a second to Keefe, so the number 15 stays in P5, but he's coming up on traffic right now. That's Milan Arnozzi in an absolute horrible place to catch him. And that second gap is now gone. Keefe playing it smart, just waiting patiently. He's going to be able to get it down the hill. It gets a little loose, and now that's a bad thing because he wanted to run on that GTO car. It has a lot of top speed. Here comes Clayton McLeod, tries to actually go off track to get by him, but lifts.
Man. Here comes Clayton.
Oh, John Keefe loses it coming through the chase. And all that hard work is thrown away in a flash.
Boy, just going to miss the entry a little bit, Joe, and maybe a little too much brake, possibly. Get the car slowed down, top of that. No, I think it started with the top of the curb, yeah. Yeah, you can see how the car jumped up over the curb there and came back down and turned that rear end around.
And you can see after that replay ended, Michelle Rugenbrink even got him for good measure, just to add insult to injury. And I was about to ask you earlier in the broadcast about those curbs in the Nissan, Sean. I have to imagine there's some places you absolutely want to avoid them like they're the plague.
Yeah, Joe, absolutely. Griffin's Bend, a good example. They just got through there. The curbs here, the Nissan, it's like we just saw what happened. That's a perfect example, and hopefully we don't see it much again, but you want to stay away from the curbs here in that Nissan. The Audi a little bit more forgiving, but the speeds too, coming down the mountain, you've just got to be careful. You got to keep the momentum going forward, not sideways.
And speaking of needing to be careful coming down the mountain, as we rode on board with Emerton, I was sucking at a breath because he got within inches on the exit of Forest Elbow, and that's while they're dealing with traffic. Right now, our leader of the GTO class being overtaken by second Schneider, and as he pulls off to the side, nice job getting out of the way of Emerton. Emerton was hoping to use some of this traffic, but it has not swung his way yet. That Taco Bell GTP car is going to have to wait for another chance.
Ya quiero Taco Bell. Hey, listen, I'm still watching Rugenbrink and Keefe. It's been fun. Keefe is not letting this go. He is.
Yeah, he wants that spot back.
He does, very much so. Rugenbrink has just a tad bit of damage on the front end, but overall, I don't think it's really affected his top speed. Keefe's got to be careful not to overdrive the car here. Very, very, very easy to do on this track, Joe.
And let's... Whoa! Deep into the corner for John Keefe.
I didn't say that, Joe.
Oh, man. It's not been a fun day for John Keefe these last couple of laps. That cost him some time. I was about to say before that happened that the reason we're on these GTP cars, you're not really missing anything with the GTOs. They've all spread apart, especially now that the traffic has come through them. Ever since those top three had those incidents that we saw, really, Olenek and Trangrade are all spread apart. Hall has not been able to catch them. And, of course, Lake is no longer in the picture. There you see our leader at the moment in the slower class.
Do we dare give Martin Krytrick... Let's say hello to Martin Krytrick real quick. He spent a long time in the pits. He's got the car back out.
And are you sure it's a car?
No, I don't know. I think it used to be a Nissan. I think in its heart, in its soul, it still is, but doesn't quite resemble one, actually.
I think its heart and soul is now an SK modified.
That's the closest we've actually ever seen to an SK that's not an SK, yeah.
Imagine taking those cars around the mountain.
Good on him though, getting back out here and trying to pick up some points. He's got the number 20 on the door. He's running in 13th. So, hey,
there you go.
Good for him. There you go.
Well, he should have, instead of the number 20, he should have a Dory on the side, because that is a Dory award for sure. Meanwhile, our leader is still Fabian Gerber in that class, and he's still held it at about 10 seconds, 9.5 to be exact, over Nicholas Schneider. So he hasn't let the traffic hurt him too much. Fabian Gerber making good so far of the lead that he got since the drop of the green. But it ain't over till the checkered flag falls. I believe, what was the phrase that Johan gave us during the Lotus 49s? Flowers come at the end of the race?
Well, they do. They do.
Look how close this is for second. Schneider and Emerton. This has been one of the best battles all race long.
Yeah, it really
Emerton
has.
Now really laying it on.
Schneider's... Joey, he's having the drive of the day as far as I'm concerned. I know Gerber's been spotted to a nice lead, but Schneider has been able to keep Luis in the mirror for the whole race.
Another bad exit out of Forest Elbow is going to cost him there, despite how close he was. Yeah, I mean, I really have to give credit to Nicholas, but I think even though we're supposed to stay impartial, Luis has been making a fan of me lately. The way that he has been just up on the wheel. He's challenged for wins even, we've seen at Okayama before. Luis is just, wow. I have no other words for him. I can't believe the progress that he's made.
Oh, poor Mike Kopak just had trouble a moment ago, Joe. He's had to tow the car in.
No, he drove it in.
Did he? Okay, yes, he did. I'm sorry, I'm picking it up.
This happened in Forest Elbow. I don't know if we want to try and find it. It was maybe about a minute ago. Oh, and it was an embarrassing wreck for him. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, we just found the end of it. This is so easy to do. I say embarrassing, but just outbraking yourself and the car veering off to the right coming down to the forest was the start of it, but then it was just sliding along the wall here, Sean, and well, the tires had to start at some point.
Yeah, that's a really tough spot to get turned around too, Joe. You talk about the mother of all bottlenecks. Thankfully he did it clean and nobody right on him through there, or at least, you know, even a pack of cars.
That did send him to the pits, as Sean mentioned, and he is sliding down the order. Still has only about 14 minutes to get it repaired and out there, and it's only 14 minutes for this battle to resolve itself as Emerton so fast over the top of the mountain, it's put in a straight line. I wonder if maybe he's got a little bit more downforce than Schneider does.
You know, hopefully we get a chance to talk to both of them at the end of the day. Certainly they don't have to give their secrets up, but Joe, you might have hit on something there. We know that, you know, you have different downforce packages you can use on this open setup on a Nissan, and generally we found that is the difference when two drivers look to have the same pace and run the same line, and they're able to run close to each other, but an overtake doesn't happen. And Schneider continues to hold serve here.
Talked about that it is open setup and drivers needing different things to make them feel comfortable. Oh, and Riley Thompson was climbing up, but I think he just hit the wall. This was in the dipper. Oh, started to lose it. Almost brought it back together. And that wasn't too hard of a hit for the 11, thankfully.
Yeah, he's going to soldier on. Riley's not... hey, listen, Riley is one mistake away from a podium here, okay? So, yeah, he's 22, 23 seconds back from a podium, but I'll say it again. We've got just under 13 minutes left. Anything can happen here still.
Yeah, I'd have to say that Riley needs to dip into whatever he has left inside of him to get this thing to the end, just to get himself a good result, something he's been lacking a bit of lately here in the Kamel GT series. But sitting in fourth after, you said, starting ninth, really something that he should be happy with. Still dealing with the damage on the right side of the car, and it doesn't seem to be handling all that great based on his exit out of Hell Corner.
He just got to hang on to it here for a few more minutes, man. And he's got fourth. He's clear behind right now. He's got really no threat. Milan Arnozzi is back there, but still quite a ways back in the mirror.
Yeah, honestly, most everybody's pretty clear of one another out there right now from what I'm seeing, especially our leaders. This is Arnozzi in the purple number 18. Easy to spot that car.
Yes, it is. It's a kind of almost a plum color.
Let's give some love to the GTO since we haven't looked at them in a while. Up at the top, it actually is our closest battle. Triangulate's not giving up on this. It was about 3 seconds before. It's now down to 2.3. I think let me look at the lap times. I think Triangulate is reeling him in.
Oh, he is, Joe. He is, slowly but surely. He is reeling him in. This is far from over. John Keefe coming through that battle right now, actually. Keefe now going to make the pass on Olenek. Catches him in a good spot, obviously.
Yeah, doesn't put him offline too badly. Oh, and the prototypes, the battle for second has finally been settled, and not the way that Nicholas Schneider wanted. Was there contact?
I'm watching it now, Joe, and
I think there was.
I think there was netcode, unfortunately. I've watch it here.
It started. You could see on the replay, it looked like a little bit of curb on the inside of McPhillamy, kind of upset Schneider, and Emerton knew that he had to try and be close to make something happen, and he was just unfortunately a little too close. You'll see from the onboard. He's trying to grasp at whatever straws are presented to him. I don't think Nicholas would be happy about it regardless.
It was very marginal, and I could see where Nicholas is probably going to be a little chapped, but boy, just racing in close quarters there. I can tell you that Lewis Emerton certainly, if there was actually a contact that happened, I don't think Lewis meant to do it. You know what I mean? They had such a great battle.
Oh, and he's going to have to take it in for repairs. It's handling too bad. That car going by was Kopak. That was a lapped car. I was going to say he had 10 seconds back to Laughter, but Laughter's easily going to be able to get by him now that the number 8 is coming in to try and get a new nose cone, probably get some of the suspension repaired.
Joe, back in the GTOs. Ove Trenigrade. Ove is on the way.
1.7 now. Remember, it was 2.3 at the start of this previous lap. And remember, Trenigrade had a bad time earlier this morning, and the Lotus 49. I'm sure he'd like a win to make up for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. The guys that run the Lotus 49 that come over and run the Kamel GT afterwards, some of them come in here with a chip on their shoulder, Joe. They drive on the chip the whole race, and well, sometimes that produces great results. Sometimes it produces more red mist at the end of the day. So I prefer the better results.
I'm starting to see a battle get closer for P3 for the podium in GTP. Ben Laughter and Clayton McLeod. In fact, I think Clayton took a look here up at the top of the mountain before we came over to him. Actually, did Ben just take that, I should say? No, he was ahead of him. Excuse me.
Yes, he was. Clayton still continuing to march up through the field.
And Laughter started this one in 9th as well, looking at a podium. Wow. Great stuff from both him and Clayton McLeod. Well, there's the phrase in racing, Sean, sometimes you just got to keep it on the island. And, well, one thing related to island, Survivor. And I'd say that's appropriate today.
In fact, the current season of Australia's Survivor going on now, Joe.
Gosh, I can't believe they're still doing that started when I was in high school. Jeez.
Yeah, Clayton has reeled Ben in here. This could get exciting over the next 7 minutes. They've got about 4 laps to go, but let's say 4.5 laps to go once they get up to the top of the mountain here.
Yeah, he's putting the pressure on. We've seen a number of drivers try this. It hasn't ended well for all. Opportunity is going to run out eventually with less than 7 minutes left to go as they come through Quarry. Ooh, big wiggle there from Ben Laughter. Just glanced the curb and he got away with it. Comes Clayton, he's got to run. He takes a look in on McPhillamy Park, but he's chopped off at the apex by Laughter. And as this is happening, we got to keep half an eye on the GTO leaders because they're getting close too.
Yes, they are, Joe. It's now less than a second. Well, it's right at a second. But Ove is still marching on. He made up a lot of time down the front straight, down in the hell corner. I'm going to be honest with you, I was watching that. He sent it really deep into there.
Well, we can stick with this because things have separated for P3 over in the prototypes. So this is now the closer battle between Trangarade and Olenek. Before it was 3, Philip Lake has fallen away. And despite losing ground, the Norwegian, bit by bit, has clawed his way back to make it a fight for the lead.
Oh, trouble for our leader there, Joe. That was not a good entry down the mountain. Got way too far over the curb. It slowed him down. Ove able to take advantage of that and is right up on him here in fourth elbow.
Lost half a second in that moment alone. Up ahead of him, that's Eugenio Massa. He's going to pull over, let them through on the right side down the Conrad Straight. I think there's going to be no issue here. Oh boy, I think Ove can smell blood in the water now. Down to complete yet another lap. Down to 5 minutes to go. And as they cross the line, we know what the top 2 are, but we don't know what order they'll be in when the checkered flag falls. Not missing anything between Laughter and McLeod. Still over half a second between those two.
Yeah, they are coming down the mountain.
But if a slipstream going to help Trangarade forward slightly? The big hold that these cars punch in the air, but went a little too deep into Griffin's Bend.
Yeah, this is where Ove just needs to get back to what he was doing about a lap and a half ago, and that's just, you know, good, fast race car, planted in the middle of the track, not overdriving it. Easy for me to say. I'm not chasing him with 3.5 laps to go.
Always much more comfortable here in the booth than it is out there at Bathurst.
Especially at Bathurst. Jeez.
Still hounding him. Still staying in those tire tracks. The number 4 of Trangarade. Are we going to see another mistake from Olenek? This one looked a little bit smoother.
Not much smoother, though, Joe. Speaking about not smooth, Ove almost into the wall there. Right up on the bumper now.
He's still gaining time.
This could be it, Joe. I think he's in the tow.
I think he is too. Trangarade has been up on the wheel as he reels him in slowly yet surely down the Conrad Straight up to the chase. He's going to run out of track by the time they get to the braking, though. Olenek stays safe for now. Clatters over the curbs using the 4-wheel drive of this car.
It really is, man. Rob is on it. Laughter and McLeod. Joe has got some action here.
Well, they sneak their way past Philip Lake, who's returned the car back out, but only 8th in class. And through the Dipper, through the S's, they've got more traffic in the form of Kopak and Arnozzi. Forrest Elbow and Kopak's trying to stay patient, but I'm wondering if he's aware there's a battle coming up behind him. Oh, this is about to get interesting. Are we going to go 3 wide? I don't even know if there's space for this. Oh, they come together! Arnozzi gets turned around. And so it almost runs into Clayton McLeod. He has to lift to try and sneak by, and somehow, in all of that mess, Laughter stays ahead of him. Arnozzi didn't lose a spot.
Arnozzi able to keep his car is going to do literally. No, he didn't hit anything at all except the car of Ben Laughter.
And this was happening at around 160 miles an hour, Sean.
He's going to go on board with Clayton McLeod. This is amazing. What Clayton does here, this is amazing right here.
What he does is smart. He gets out of it. He's thinking preservation. Jeez. So, battle for the lead in the GTOs has not relinquished. Olenek and Trangrade still going at it. Hopefully not having a moment like Arnozzi just did.
Wow.
That is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And we've seen some crazy stuff in this series.
Ooh, close moment there for Ove. Listen, Ove's got the big shovel out, baby. He is digging. And he's still, yeah, again, right up on the bumper of the Audi. Looks like, well, I'm getting...
White flag is out for Fabian Gerber as he just crossed the line. And he's actually going to come by these leaders in just a moment. In fact, he's going to catch them in an awful spot. He does have 13 seconds. Is that enough that he could lift and stay behind them over the top of the mountain, though? There we see a flash of them in the background. Things getting tight now. Is this the final lap, or is there one more in store for the GTO lead?
Well, you know, it'd be interesting to see what Gerber does here. I mean, it's really kind of up to Gerber how many laps they have left at this point, wouldn't you think?
It really is. Oh, and Ben Laughter had to take a tow. Something happened. We'll come back to that in a bit. We got to stay on this battle for the lead. Olenek, ever since he took it away from Lake, has been trying to bring it to the end in this position. Now they've got Gerber right behind them. He's got a 14-second lead. Is that enough that he can lift and wait? He's staying behind for now here. In the Forest Elbow, this is going to be the critical corner. Ove has to get a run here, Sean.
Gerber, Fabian sitting back there thinking, you know what, I could torture Rob Olenek and really just hang back and make these guys race another one. He is hanging back, yeah, Joe. He is.
He's got enough time. He's going to let them have another lap to settle this.
Oh, this is going to be spicy.
Trangarade, though, is going to wait behind here through the chase. He's not close enough to try and outbreak Olenek. Gerber is our leader in the GTPs. And while the GTOs get another lap, the checkered flag is out for Fabian Gerber, taking the win here in round 8 of the Kamel GT series.
Folks, put another shrimp on the bobby because we got another lap here in the GTOs. Rob Olenek is probably, I'm thinking he's cussing Fabian Gerber right now, Joe.
Oh, certainly. But Trangrade is thanking his lucky stars on that helmet. They work their way up into Griffin's Bend. He's not close enough this time by. He's got to make up ground up across the top of the mountain, but a mistake on the exit of Griffin's costs him that few tenths that he needs.
Race fans, trust me when I tell you there is no other battle on the mountain right now except this one.
Oh, more ground lost. Did Trangrade maybe not fill it enough on fuel? He keeps dropping back and back.
Boy, he really is here, Joe.
I wonder if he cut it just that little bit too tight. Tries to gain some ground, heading down the mountain, heading down the S's here. It's been so close between these two for the last 5 or 6 laps, and now suddenly Ove backing out of it. He gained some ground once again in the Forest Elbow, but a bad exit coming down the Conrad Straight. Yeah, his last opportunity. I don't think he's close enough. He is getting his slipstream on Olenek, pulling him in bit by bit. I just think it's too little, too late, as Rob Olenek, the New Englander, inherited the lead. Didn't inherit the lead, wrong wording from me. He took the lead away. And now as they come out of the chase, he's fended off an attack from Ove Trangarade for the remainder of the laps to take the win here at Bathurst.
Wow.
Great stuff.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't the amazing last lap we thought it was going to be, but again, how about the sportsmanship there, the game of Fabian Gerber to just kind of like, all right, you know what? Let these guys race on. Let's see what another lap does. This is the replay. What happened to Ben Laughter, Joe?
I have no idea what happened here. This is coming down to the chase. Did Laughter just outbrake himself potentially? Because Clayton's nowhere near him. I saw something in the chat about netcode. Maybe he made a wild dive. We'll find out in a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, with horrible results.
Yeah, that didn't look very good.
We're going to watch it one more time from above. And when we come back live, we've got a bit of a show going on with our drivers that have remained. They're trying to make a show as they all run into the wall. A few of them making it over the infamous jump here at Bathurst.
I see several that have made it through.
So as we'll get that a replay so that you guys can enjoy that. But a bit of a fun little release of steam as we go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, and stick around because we've got all the upcoming races on your screen for GSRC. If you're still holding on to the armrests on your seat, you can let go now. Hopefully your blood has come rushing back to your fingers, because we had an exciting one here at Bathurst. Up at the front of the GTPs, it might not have seemed that way, especially for Fabian Gerber, since he had a decent gap at the end. In fact, good enough that he could let the GTO cars race to the finish, but he still came away with the win. Luis Emerton did get the second place. A little bit of controversial circumstances. We'll have to get his thoughts on that. And Clayton McLeod did wind up with the third, also with slightly controversial circumstances at the very end of the race. Michelle Rugenbrink going from 11th to 4th. Quite a jump from him. And John Keefe probably kicking himself a little bit. He made a couple mistakes along the way. Still got a top 5 out of that. How about Alex Bassio? Didn't even hardly put the cameras on him, but a 14th in the grid to a 6th place at the checkered flag. Basically just cruising around to try and pick up what he could. And I'd say that's a great effort from him to do so. Ben Laughter was only able to take 7th, and Johnny Bell gets 8th, and that already, because of the attrition, Sean, brings us to you with the GTOs.
Yes, it does. Rob Olenek is your big winner. The New Englander put on quite a show, especially those last few laps there with Ove, who trained great, and trying to hold him off. Ove with a great race, came up through the field. He'll finish second. Jamie Hall, third place finish for him. Riley Thompson, you know, we're going to give him a tip of the hat. Not a bad run, fourth place. Mike Kopach's going to get mixed in there. He was 13th overall, 9th in class. Then we've got Milan Arnozzi, who had a little bit of trouble, but boy, had one of the more interesting spins and recoveries that I've seen in quite a while. He'll finish 5th place. Good on him. Hideki Koivitso bringing it home 6th. Eugenio Massa, 7th. 8th's going to go to Phil Lake. And boy, we documented what happened to him. That's such a tough break for Phil today. Then we go to 10th in class for Nicholas Schneider, who was in contention to possibly win this race at one point. Takes that 10th overall, or 10th in class. 9th in the GTOs, Brian Shanahan. Then you've got Martin Krejcik, Radar Anderson, Fabian Youngbluth, Justin Albrecht, all mixed in there, 11th through 14th in class back. And then the end of the GTO field's going to be Nick Bucanos, who had a tough day, 10th place, and Reed Miller had an even tougher day, and a little bit earlier, he'll finish 11th, Joe.
We have some of our drivers waiting to talk to us, including our winner in the GTOs, Rob Olenek. Had to have a hard fight for much of this race, fending off a charging Ove Trangerade. We had some debates up here in the booth. Rob, were you cursing Fabian at the end there that he didn't overtake you two?
A little bit. I knew he would do it, though. Man, I think Ove and me were running different downforce packages. He was way faster on the top of the mountain, and he couldn't keep up with me on the straights. So I think I kind of lucked out. But overall, he was faster towards the end of the race, definitely.
Yeah, he certainly caught you very quickly. We were watching that battle start to develop. Now, talk about the battle at the start, though, between you and Phil Lake. You had to earn that first place.
Oh, my God, I couldn't get by him. I knew it was going to be a battle with Phil. We've been practicing together and basically the same pace. We've been doing the same stuff in practice. But I don't even remember where I got by him, but I think I wasn't expecting it. I remember that.
Yeah, we saw the multiple attempts that it took for you to finally get it done.
What happened to Phil?
Unfortunately, a little bit of a bobble coming out of quarry sent him into the wall, and that caused him some damage.
Okay.
But so real quick before we let you go, then, a lot of drivers talk about how they just try and ease their pace back and get to the finish here. It didn't seem like that with you today. You were pushing hard. You were going for the victory. How stressful is it to both be trying to go as fast as you can and survive this place?
It's very stressful. I mean, you got to be 100% concentration on this track, especially up through the mountain. I was being a little conservative going into the turn 3, 4, 5, and then coming into Forest Elbow. I was trying to, because those are the two places that I would probably make a mistake if I was going to make one, and I wanted to make sure I got good exits. But I mean, only a little bit. But then when I saw Ove getting closer, I was trying my hardest to keep him out of my draft, and I stopped that and just kind of went for it again.
Well, it all worked out in the end. You got another win under your belt. Congratulations here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
That was Rob Olenek, winner of the GTO class. We have second place over in the GTPs waiting to talk to us, and Sean has Lewis Emerton with him.
Luis, what a race, man. We talked about this in the pre-race. We talked during the race. The recent improvement, the run that you've been on this season is just amazing. Today, you did it again at Bathurst. Tell us a little bit about it.
It went pretty well. I suppose I've come here more to publicly apologise to Mr. Schneider. I don't know what happened there, but he was really slow coming up to Skylight, and I just didn't expect him to stay in the middle, so I just tapped the edge of him.
Yeah. Boy, we talked about it. I'm going to be honest with you. It looked really close, really marginal. My replay, the couple times I looked at it, almost looked like there might have been a touch of netcode involved there. But listen, again, still just a tremendous race. And what was the hardest part of you getting up and down the mountain today? What was the hardest part for you?
Trying to keep the car stable on the brake. I don't know all the turn names, but there's one where you cut in a quite tight left and you're braking at the same time a little bit. And the car just wants to swap ends on you more times than not on the mountain.
So what do you attribute the success to this season? What's the secret? What's making you tick here this season?
I don't know. I mean, I did a bit in the Audi. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought. Then I jumped back in the Nissan. Kind of felt more at home, I suppose, and I just practiced a lot more, and I got a lot more. I think I've really nailed the braking on them, which really makes apparently the difference.
Well, you're making it look good, buddy, and you're on your way to maybe making a run at this championship. So hopefully we'll see you again next week. Is that the plan? You plan to run all these out, these next several rounds?
Yeah, I can make all the races coming up, so I'll just keep going with the Nissan.
Great. Well, then we'll look forward to seeing you then. Congratulations on another podium today, and we'll catch you next week, man.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
All right, Joe, that's Luis Emerton, and well, let's go ahead and talk to Riley Thompson. Joe, you caught him.
Indeed. Riley, that seemed like an exciting one for you, and somehow you managed to get in fourth. That was despite both a run-in with the wall when the leader came by you and a moment down in the dipper. Tell us about those.
Yeah, I think when Fabian was passing me, I just ended up running wide, didn't get on the brakes enough, and once you get out of the groove here, you're automatically in the wall. And then for the other incident, I think it was just me being too aggressive with myself with the Nissan coming through. So, and then once I was trying to save it, I just failed to get on the brakes and kept trying to save it the whole time.
Yeah, and thankfully it came out okay for you. Didn't damage the car too much. Now, you qualified down in ninth, and when you saw the grid order, did that change your mentality of how to approach this race? Did you kind of go into conservation mode there?
Kind of, yeah. It was more of just trying to get back what I had with that intent at the start. So.
Well, still, I have to imagine I would think that you're pretty pleased with fourth place. Did you expect to finish that high up?
I hope to finish a little bit higher, but yeah, I'm definitely happy with how it turned out, considering how I got turned out at the start as well. So
that's true. I forgot to mention that you had that drama. That makes it even more impressive. Well, the good news is we're done with Bathurst now for this week. At least we're done with the broadcast. You could still get some more races in, and you have another difficult, very narrow track to look forward to in Montreal.
Yay.
I can see the enthusiasm.
Greatest response ever. Loved it.
Riley Thompson there, fourth place finisher. Thanks for talking to us.
Yep.
And finally, one driver who might feel a little bit hard done by with a quick chat with Sean Ambrose, Ben Laughter, has joined us.
Ben, I know you said you're looking forward to watching the replay, but not necessarily looking forward to watching yourself cringe. Why don't you walk us through what happened there at the end?
Oh, what happened was netcode. Netcode crashed me. Clayton did not crash me. We were having a good battle, and frankly, he should have never been that close. It was me hitting Milan that hurt my top end and allowed Clayton to get that close. So, yeah, that was my fault, not his.
Well, a pretty amazing set of circumstances. I'm sorry it ended up that way. But listen, that moment with Milan, I know you guys have chatted about it here. He feels like his car was a little bit all over the track right there. Was it avoidable, or you think it's just a
100%.
racing deal?
100% avoidable. 100% avoidable. I had a Nissan on the right and an Audi on the left, and I had a head of steam and just should have not continued to. I should have ducked to the right behind the Nissan and figured it out after the chase. I was just under pressure from Clayton and made a Nissan rookie mistake. And frankly, I was really, really happy with my performance today, being kind of new to this car. I was really, really happy with myself till that moment, and that, it can change really quickly.
Okay, so you've had experience driving now the Nissan on the mountain and the Audi. Which one do you like better?
Oh, the Audi. I mean, well, so you have to think in fast forward in this Nissan. You have to think in slow motion in the Audi, and so they both offer really, really different challenges going over, and especially down the mountain. But this thing, when you're going through McPhillamy Park and Skyline, and then down the S's, I mean, it is you're just moving by instinct. There's no time for thought.
All right, so think about Montreal. Obviously, looking for a much better effort there, right?
I'm going to leave my mark on that wall.
Gonna mark up the wall of champions. Good stuff. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you. We'll meet you at the wall. How's that sound, Ben?
You bet, guys. I'll be on my roof.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you next week, buddy. Congratulations on just getting out there and competing, man.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, Ben
stuff, Joe.
living up to his last name as far as helping us enjoy these broadcasts. We're going to close up today. And of course, a big thank you goes to the Kamel GT community for bringing the Global Sim Racing channel back for another season of coverage here of this series. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go out to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page. We've got a big red button that says subscribe. If you hit that, you'll get all of our races in your YouTube feed, and you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. You mentioned it. We're heading over to Canada for another course that is debated on whether or not it counts as a street course. It is, if you ask me. It's difficult like one. That'll be Saturday, August 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out. Mark those down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.